This video is in regards to my brother's first cancer surgery. That he wound up having 14 of them that were the result of a brown recluse bite that he got in about 2006. He was um, in very bad condition by the time he came to live with me in 2020, and he was in need of a lot of extensive surgery. Where he was at in Hunt County was not able to do the surgeries because they were quite intimidated by the extensive damage to his chest and two areas on his head. The spider bites had been termed chronic wound turned to cancer. So what inspired this post was, or this video was a post that I had made on my personal Facebook. Does a live person playing a harp of all things really set the mood to awkward outside of a surgery waiting room? Just saying. This popped up in my memories on the 10th this year, which was the 2-year anniversary of that very first surgery. And I was sitting down in the waiting room, and we were scared. We were told he'd be in the hospital for at least 30 days. There was a very high risk of him dying because of his emaciated condition and just the extent of the surgery. Uh, so it was a very scary time for both of us. So seeing this post got me to looking at the charts and using all of the asteroids knowledge that I've picked up over the last 6 years. It was all right on time, even me making the post and then seeing it now. I really didn't want to put myself into the video. It was just going to be his natal chart and um, our composite and progress composite. But I kept getting urged, I call it a nudge, to put in mine. I do know my chart best. I've had clairs all of my life that have really come into heavy since the last 12 years, and especially the last couple of years. Uh, my mother is my biggest person that contacts me. She's been gone for 17 years now, and she leaves me little gifts, so I know it's her. But learning to trust the nudges and to think that you're not crazy and when other people say that you are, that's the fun part. So in my natal chart here, I do have a lot of asteroids that are heavy for the clairs. We have Pallas, it's connected to the third eye. Um, I have Flora and Serendip right here at my ascendant, which is on fixed star Aldebaran. Serendip is your synchronicities. I have a lot of flora, flowers, mom sends to me, and different things. I have Delphi here. Delphi was an oracle conjunct my Babylon, which is related to astrology, and they are opposite my Neptune. Uh, I have a 29-degree aura here, and one of my mother's asteroids sits here. I have Eagle, which is one of the asteroids also lists that are connected to clairs, and uh, Aurelia here conjunct my Ginky, which is my childhood nickname, and Osiris. Aurelia and Delphi are, when I asked my guides in a meditation once what their names were, that's what they told me was Aurelia and Delphi. I had no idea that those were oracles from historical myth. On my Gagnereau here, which is an asteroid for my name that my mother had told me my name was spelled a certain way. Um, I have Aureola, which is another connected to the divine asteroid. I have Spirit on my Uranus here. I have Vesta conjunct my Sun. Um, One thing that was pointed out to me by another astrologer a few years ago was that my 29-degree Atlantis is quincunx my 29-degree karma, and she thought that was connected to a lot of what I have happen. Now, of course, my Atlantis is opposite my Pluto, and that brings up a lot of extra magic. And I have an eighth house Jupiter that really enhances it, and that Jupiter squares my Sun in Vesta. I'm in no way bragging on any of this. This is just puzzle pieces I've picked up over the years trying to understand what was going on with all the weirdness. So then we have Angel here, 2246, that connects to my 22-degree Venus, that has Isis and Hades conjunct it, and Era, which is a fate, and that is opposite my Gianna at 22 degrees, and of course connects to my midheaven at 2039 and to my IC at 2039. And just one more thing is that my mother's asteroids sit at my karma, at my aura, at my north node, and here at my midheaven at 21 degrees. Her last name sits here at my Juno. So back to the day of the surgery, we had that silly harp playing. La Harp up here, my natal La Harp is in Pisces, and it connects, of course, to my Sun at 7 degrees and to my Jupiter at 7 degrees. And then my Neptune at 5 degrees here to my Delphi, Ceres. Um, I didn't even realize how important that it would be at the time. The transit La Harp here was connecting to my Venus, and over here to Gianna. And it was opposite Icarus. Icarus has many meanings. One of them is connected to the divine order of things, everything happening right on time. My natal Icarus is right here near my midheaven on the ninth house side. This has been part of my journey, is learning to chart everything happening right on time in our lives, not just my own, uh, but friends and family that I have the charts for. Icarus is square to my Hades that sits at my 12th house Venus. Um, and it has on its positive side the same pretty much effects. Some of it can be on the negative side, pretty dark, which my Jupiter in 8th has brought me quite a bit of dark things in my life. But that's all part of this path. Icarus also connects to my Nessus in the first house. Nessus is a troublemaker uh, on the low end, but like Eris, that I have conjunct my Mercury over here, Eris and Nessus create trouble, but it's for a positive outcome. Uh, it has a higher purpose. And on the day of the surgery, the North Node was exactly on my first house Nessus. Studying the charts, my brother and I have had a soul contract to go through this Cancer journey together. Uh, Transit Juno here at 1534 was crossing my destiny, and amour, which is just a general love for others. Um, so Juno is soul contracts, and it and transit awry. We're sitting at the great attractor, um, learning where my placements were at the black holes since my Pluto sits near the uh, supergalactic center, Pluto and Pax, and my last name sits here at the galactic center. Learning where those were was a pretty big clue. to why I have the life I do. My Jasonsmith sits here at 842 Pisces, which is right near where my La Harpe is. We have Jasonsmith at 2555 conjunct my Gardanimo, which is one of the Cancer asteroids. It's related to Cancer. Transit Osiris had just crossed over my Jasonsmith. Osiris and Isis in mythology were brother and sister, and she tried to put his pieces back together when he was torn apart, I do believe is how the myth went. And he's pretty tore apart. I like to look at fate asteroids, destinies, such as that. Uh, not just karma, but you have the Era is one of fate. The Moira is one of fate. Um, the Arai here. Can't see where my natal Arai is. But another one is also Arachne. That's one of its neutral is fate and destiny. And of course, this was a Cancer due to a spider bite. My Arachne sits here at my Ginky, my childhood nickname, and my Osiris is here. Didymos is one I have been watching, especially since that's the one that NASA recently uh, shot at and sent it into a tailspin. My life's been in kind of a tailspin since that happened. I had a deep sense of grief when Didymos was hit. So I'm still trying to find a meaning for that one. It seems to have to do with timelines and soul contracts. Medically, I have asteroids Asclepius connects to my north node by positive sextile. I have Aesculapius conjunct my sun. I have Aesculapia, which I misspelled here, conjunct my north node. The last time the north node went through my 12th house, I was taking care of my mother, who was in her last few years, and my husband at the time then had several heart attacks and surgeries. Uh, I had a lot of 12th house other things going on in my life around me. So we are repeating themes this time around as well. Hygeia sits here at 14 degrees, which is quincunx to my Ginky and Osiris, Arachne. The Cancer asteroids that I used, I'm sure there are more, but I knew of these four. D. Shepherd is one that's related to Cancer. It was transiting right at my Asclepius here. Then we have the, oh, what did it, Gardanimo and Defy are two others that are connected to Cancer. They're at 17 degrees here. Right near transit Jasonsmith, and 17 degrees connects over to my Gagnereau asteroid here, and 4602, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, Houdier, where Jason was bit by the spider, was on County Road 4602. So that is a big factor in his charts as well. Aberdonia is the town. Transit Aberdonia is here. You can't really call it a town. Aberfoyle, Texas is where it actually is. My Texas connects to my 8th house Jupiter and to my sun. And Texas is opposite my Ceres, where I care and nurture. I can bounce all over the place very easily. let's come here to my Mars Denier, which is another cancer-related asteroid, Miller, and the doctor's first name, the surgeon's first name, all sit here at 0 degrees. Uh, they are trying to where Saturn and Jupiter had been conjunct December 21st, 2020, right before we did the surgeries, and about a couple months before at 0 29 degrees. And the keywords for that conjunction was opportunities through challenges. We've had a lot of challenges. That 0 degrees connected not just to this area here, it also connected to, of course, my Pluto and to my karma. And the 22-degree Saturn Pluto conjunction, January 12th, 2021, this was 2 days after his surgery. 22 degrees, of course, is my Gianna, and it is my Venus, and it's across from my Smith down here, and makes several connections all around. Now, for those that don't know, all of the black is where the things were when the planets and objects were when I was born, and all of the green is the transit. Transit planets go this direction unless they're retrograde or north or south node. Then they go this direction. So when I say it's going around the chart, generally means this way. Uh, the doctor's last name here is, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's quincunx to my vertex. I have found that quincunxes are often a karmic aspect of either timing or connection in the life path. This eclipse right here at 19 degrees 54 minutes, it was a full moon eclipse January 10th, 2020. It connects to where my Gagnereau and Ginky were by transit at 19 degrees. It connects to my Hades. It connects to where Vesta and Atlantis were at the day of the surgery. Anything around the 19-20 degrees around the charts were affected by that. There was a total eclipse December 14th, 2020 at 23:06. And of course, Hunt is the county where my brother was bitten by the spider. And the day of the surgery, my last name was on my natal Hunt. And at that eclipse point at 22 degrees, that connects again to Gianna and my Venus. An angel here, opposite my angel. So, yeah, pretty big deal. Anyway, eclipse June 5th, 2020 was at 15 degrees 42 minutes, which is exactly my destiny at 15 degrees 42 minutes on the great attractor. That is trying to my Didymos. There was a Saturn-Jupiter square to Uranus, January 1st, 21. No, that was the 17th. I made a typo. 2021 at 6 degrees 43 minutes. That connects to my Sun, to my Jupiter, to Babylon and Delphi, to my Neptune. Transit, the doctor's first name, was here on my Ginky and Arachne, Osiris. My town name here is conjunct Juno, and that is opposite my Mercury and Chiron. Chiron rules doctors, woundings, healings. Mercury rules siblings, communications, close environment. The full moon eclipse, July 5th, 2020, at 13 degrees 30 minutes, was square to my Mercury and Chiron, Ginky. and Eris and Osiris. Um, I got a nudge. I went out of state, and on my way back through, I got a nudge to go see my brother in July, the end of July there. And that's when he was in a horrible, horrible condition. It really had me worried before he went in the hospital and then the nursing home and then to me. So that's conjunct the Arai here, my Arai fate, and connects to Juno, my town. And one more thing before I jump to the next chart, 1400 Tyrela. The address of the hospital that my brother was at was 1400 8th Avenue in Fort Worth, Baylor Hospital. The funny thing about this Tyrela is my dad and his stepdad had the occupation of a tire man. So this one here is conjunct my moon. There's a lot of childhood trauma related to that, but this is also related to the hospital that we had the surgery at here at Baylor. And the 8th Avenue flora also is asteroid number 8. It connects also here and on with the other charts by transit. So I'm going to get ready to jump to the next chart, which will be his. Should be a little quicker. I am a much better writer than a talker. So this is his natal chart. I do have his permission, by the way, to use his name and his chart. It's not his legal name, it is his nickname that people know him by. As you can see where I put the blue, we had some eclipses here in his first house of self, the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. Jupiter and Pluto did their thing back and forth, connecting here. He had an eclipse in his 11th house. He had an eclipse here in the 7th house of committed relationships. Saturn and Jupiter squared Uranus, traveling through his 4th house, home, family, and inner emotions. Mars went retrograde in his 3rd house over his Aries stellium, where, of course, my Gagnereau is. And this is when he was in the nursing home, was around September 9th to November 13th. Mars is the ruler of his Aries stellium. The ruler of his chart is Capricorn. He's a Capricorn rising. I mean, the ruler of his chart is Saturn. So we were going through the Saturn-Uranus squares through 2020, and what it hit, like, I think 3 times. And it did create quite a lot of problems for him. The eclipse June 21st, 2020 at 0 degrees Cancer. 0 degrees is a big one for him for his nodes. And that particular one in Cancer was opposite his Pax in the 12th house, which does rule hospitals. It also rules the divine, connections to the subconscious. Because it took so long for Social Security to approve him, he was in terrible pain, and he did also have some other 12th house issues of self-sabotage while he waited. So Hunt County for him sits on his IC, his emotional foundation, his roots, sits just inside the 4th house. Taurus rules the land. That is our family property there in Hunt County. The road 4602, County Road, is here at 2134, was affected by the 22-degree conjunction of Saturn and Pluto, as well as his Arachne was exactly opposite. that, of course, is fate and related to the spider bite. His part of fortune here is conjunct my county name, Jason by transit, defy that Cancer asteroid along with Gardanimo had just crossed over them. His destiny is also here near his part of fortune. By transit, my street name, Arachne, and Smith, all here sitting just past his midheaven, um, were connecting to the doctor's last name here and connecting to his Jason here, connecting to Saris and his karma. Baylor was on his Saris. His doctor's first name here connects positively to his 27-degree Saturn. The eclipse June 5th that wound up starting all of this direction towards this cancer surgery after his hospital stay and nursing home stay, coming to my house, was at 1542, right here at his Mars. In his first house, we do have Gianna conjunct Juno at 14 degrees, and that does connect over here to Baylor, the name of the hospital, to the doctor's last name here, to his Venus, to his part of fortune. My street name is another one of the 0 degrees that were affected by the Cancer eclipse in January. For, let's see, on the day of the surgery, Phallus, which is the start of something, the beginning of something, was conjunct Angel by 2 degrees. They were right near his ascendant in his 12th house. They connect around to transiting Saturn, which had just crossed over his karma, and of course to his Jason and all the other 5 degrees around here. Transit Sun and Pallas were here at his Houdier, County Road 4602. They were connecting to his Sun and Mercury. Gagnereau and Ginky were here, connecting to his Sun. Eris was on his Mercury. Eris is that discord for positive change. Transit Destiny was opposite his vertex, which makes it on his anti-vertex. Anything that crosses the anti-vertex, which is Destiny's gateway, is very important. And Destiny and Mercury were connecting to his era, his fate. As perfect as I want this to be an explanation, it's very difficult for me to talk and explain to people that don't know anything about astrology. Experienced astrologers can look at the chart and make the connections that I'm trying to show, but I am doing my best. So we have Transit D. Shepherd, the Cancer asteroid, and Asclepius, the medical asteroid, are on his Chiron, which rules doctors and wounding. At that degree, they also connect to his IC, emotional foundation, past, and to his midheaven. And of course, everything that's at 4 or 5 degrees. I try not to go more than 2 degrees when I make my connections. Mars was on his Ginky here, connecting to 8 flora, 8th Avenue, connecting to his vertex, his Mars, transit awry, the nodes, Ginky and Gagnereau, Defy and Gardanimo, the Cancer asteroids, Mercury, which is the ruler of his third house in his Aries stellium, 1400, which is the address of the Baylor Hospital he was at 2354, was connecting to his Pluto, and to his Mercury, to his Vesta, and to his Moray, the Fates. The Saturn square Uranus that happened around February 17th, we did have a Texas ice storm that created a lot of havoc. There was a huge wreck on I-35 right near the hospital where he was at. They wound up using all the O-negative blood that delayed his surgeries. He wound up spending 45 days total in the hospital, and I couldn't get up there for about 5 days. I made it my habit to go every other day to visit with him, and I was his only visitor, and I bring him treats and snacks and such. And after that 5 days, I showed up, and they had started using leech therapy, so that was quite interesting. I have lots of pictures if anybody ever wants to see it. Ugh. Gianna here at 154 in transit is connecting to Jason at 143, and that connects to his Uranus. Uranus very much ruled his Cancer and radiation in all the various charts that I've pulled up for all the surgeries, and but it also connects to La Harpe. His natal La Harpe is 151. He didn't know about the harp. I told him about it later, but transit La Harpe at 2337 had just crossed over his Arachnean hunt, um, and of course connects to his Pluto. Pluto rules magic and the occult things, metaphysical things, and it also connects to his Mercury and transit Eris. Um, so yeah, that's the natal for him. I know I've missed a lot, but we'll move on to the next one. Keep the video not forever. Okay, so this is a composite chart for Jason and I. This is a chart of our relationship. It combines his chart and mine, similar to synastry, which we do have a lot of synastry connections all around. But this is a chart of the actual relationship. The ascendant is in Pisces. Um, our vertex sits here at the Pluto, at the descendant in Virgo, which does rule health. Our midheaven is Sagittarius. Our IC is in Gemini, ruled by Mercury, and that's siblings, early childhood. We have that Tyrella right here at the IC, as I had mentioned in the other chart. My dad was a tire man, his stepdad. Jason had a lot of childhood memories regarding the tires that mess with him. That's also the address for the hospital. Jasonsmith here at 831 is conjunct Chiron at 824. That's in the first house. On the day of the surgery, Asclepius, the medical asteroid, had crossed it. But Jasonsmith is opposite Uranus in the seventh house, which rules committed relationships. Uranus is chaos, and of course, it rules his Cancer and radiation. Uh, Uranus is also linked to the higher self and the higher purpose. Gianna here and Kali and Karma are all conjunct in the ninth house, which is this house of the spiritual path, in its natural sign, Sagittarius, the seeker of truth. Our part of fortune is in Capricorn, and it is opposite here, the doctor's first name, and Denier, one of the Cancer asteroids. In the eighth house, in Scorpio, we have my town name is conjunct Ceres. The Smith is right nearby. Cool fact, my last name was Smith before it was changed to Miller. Long story on that. But we do have different fathers. Here, transiting my Arachne, transit Arachne, my street, and Smith. We're all conjunct this area here. Ginky is one of the 0-degree points in our chart. We have Spirit at 2938, South Node and North Node at 145, Phallus, the beginning of something, at 058, Jason conjunct to that in the 12th house, hospital, spiritual, subconscious. And the reason I point those out is because of the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction 029, December 21st, 2020, which was a couple of months before the surgery, the opportunities through challenge. We've definitely had a lot of challenges. You can see the doctor's last name is here at a 17 degrees, connects to the Saturn, the Mercury. Pax, soul contracts, the Jupiter, and my house sits right on the 12th house cusp. That'd be my house address asteroid. The sun had crossed over the doctor's last name. Mercury retrograde. There were some problems, of course, with the storm and the surgery. So Mercury was retrograding back over the doctor's last name. But Destiny was sitting here also, conjunct the doctor's last name. And that was square to Saturn. Let's see. Our fate is conjunct Gardanimo. That connects to the second house Saturn in Taurus, that rules the body, stability, self-worth, values, beliefs. Gagnereau is a 29 degrees conjunct destined at 053. $124. I had made a mistake and erased something here. I forgot to erase that part. Jason was sitting here on Destiny. Baylor was conjunct my last name. Saturn was conjunct Hygeia, which is a health asteroid, how we take care of our health. And all of this was opposite era, fate. My house address was conjunct that, had just crossed over it. You know, we left out at 3 a.m. to be there for 5 a.m. surgery. That was a very long day sitting and waiting. I didn't get home till late at night that night. Let's see. We have a 28-degree Juno and Moon. That sits right here on the ninth house cusp that rules the search for higher truth and the spiritual path. When he was in the nursing home during the Mars retrograde, that affected our first house because there was nothing either one of us could do. to advance where he was at that time. Our Aesculapius medical is conjunct Jason, right here also at the 12th house cusp, just on the 12th house side. And that connects to the IC and to the midheaven and to the ascendant and descendant. Ginky, my childhood nickname, is conjunct Asclepius and Vesta and connects to all the zeros, ones, and twos around the chart. Moray connects to Gianna, Kali, and Karma, Moray being a fate. Where is our Karma? I do all this in paint because we're only allowed to have 11 objects in addition to the regular planets. There's our Karma, 9th house. Transit Karma over here was connecting to the IC and to the midheaven. As you go around, there's just so many connections. This eclipse here, November 30th, was at 8:45, and that connected to Jasonsmith and to Chiron and to the Uranus. 1954 connects to the transiting Vesta, Ginky and Gagnereau. I think there were a couple more. Oh, there's a good one. Hunt here, the county. That's where our mother was born, on the family property where he likes to go. And we lived there when we were little. Lots of stories about that place. So Hunt connects to our Juno and Moon. We have, it's our early childhood memories, our mother, and of course Pallas that rules the mother, and also the third eyes connect to Juno and the Moon. The County Road 4602, Houdier, and our 10th house here connects to our Venus here at exactly the same degree and minute, 443. And because I have my whole entire family keeping it as quiet as possible to record this, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next and last progressed composite chart, which is a chart of the relationship on that date. So here is our progressed composite. As I said, it's the chart of the relationship on February 10th, 2021. That was the day of his surgery. We had Mars here in the 12th house, ruling hospitals, Taurus ruling the body. Opposite Jupiter here, connecting also to the karma, to the midheaven, and then the IC across it, connecting to Pax, connecting to the north node and the south node, and connecting to Defy and Gardanimo, the Cancer asteroids. Transit Destiny was just crossing the midheaven. Gianna was on the Progress Composite Phallus, the beginning of something. Our part of fortune had progressed to being near the doctor's last name, and karma was sitting on our progressed part of fortune. 1400, the address of the hospital, was in transit at the doctor's last name. and that connected to our progressed angel on Pluto, connected to the Arachne right here on the second house cusp, Arachne being spider bite and fate. The doctor's last name had crossed over our progressed composite sun. He had been seeing him and scheduling the surgery before that as well. So the doctor had crossed over all of this. Um, the progressed Venus and Ginky were here, conjunct with Defy, the asteroid of Cancer. Meta is one, it means beyond, I don't know, beyond reality, beyond going above and beyond. I also use it for Facebook. It seems to work. And all of that is opposite Neptune here. Neptune is the ruler of the 12th house, the hospitals, the subconscious, the spiritual connection to the divine. Transit Arachne, Smith, and my street name were all here on our Progress Composite Smith. And that connected to Gagnereau. Spirit, Asclepius. Our progressed Gardanimo Cancer asteroid was opposite the D. Shepherd Cancer asteroid, which was conjunct Pallas. And at 9 degrees, they connected to Asclepius, the medical, to the 4602 County Road, Houdier. You know, when we went in there this morning, that morning, we were telling his story about how he had gotten to the condition he was in. So there was a lot of talk that day about the land and the spider and all of that. So anyway, so again, back to it connects to the destiny and around the chart for all of that. Now Mercury did retrograde back over our midheaven right after his surgery. There were a lot of complications to the surgery. I mean, it was kind of to be expected with the extent of everything, without throwing in the ice storm and the lack of blood. That was just really something. Yeah, great memories. La Harpe, the progressed La Harpe was connected to the progressed Arachne as well as to the progressed Mars. 2110, of course, it sat right here at the progressed Saturn that was sitting on the progressed ascendant. Now I can never find what I'm looking for. The transit La Harpe at 2337 was connecting over here to Pluto and Angel. I see the doctor's first name and Denier, the Cancer asteroid, were near each other here. 26 and 27 connecting to the Pluto and Angel. So yeah, as you go around, you can just start making all the connections of the planets go in this direction and of where all the placements are through here. It's really hard for me to focus and continue no matter how many notes I make. There's so many placements and so many things going on. It's hard to remember all of them. But it kind of gives you an idea of what it is that I do. And I hope to be able to teach others how to create their own charts and start to understand who they are a little better. There are over 22,500 asteroids. There's big stars. You have midpoints in between all of your different points. There are Sabian symbols and Chandra and Omega symbols. So many different ways to discover who you are. It's a really intense study, and really no astrologer can do this deep and intense a study for you, especially things like nicknames and where you've lived. And but once you start plugging it in, I was led to make a poster size chart for myself, and then I started doing it for others, uh, my family members and friends. But even then, I still have to sit down with them and say, "Give me names. I need, you know, I need," because only you really know the details of your life and your deep inner thoughts and things that you've never told anyone. So if I can help people to understand who they are, where they've been, what their interactions were with people, um, that's my ultimate goal, to help towards healing. So thank you if you made it this far. Sorry I stumble, and have a great day. Thanks.